We have come a long way since the first NFL Hall of Fame class in 1963. Currently, the Pro Football Hall of Fame has done 57 classes and has inducted over 300 people into the Hall of Fame. Today, I will show you some facts about the 17 historic players inducted in the 1963 Pro Football Hall of Fame class, the second largest in the Hall's history.
Bring in Sammy Baugh, though 36 years old and with 15 seasons of pro competition behind him, gives no signs of nearing the end of his amazing career.
The great Sammy Baugh. He played for only one team throughout his whole career, the Washington Redskins. He was great throughout his whole career, but his 1947 season was clearly his best. He had almost 3,000 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, and an amazing 244 average yards per game. He retired with over 21,000 passing yards and 187 passing touchdowns. He'll be known as one of the best players to play in the NFL in the 40s.
And I'd like to welcome the Burt Bell family.
In November, the Pennsylvania Historical Commission dedicated a marker to the late Burt Bell.
Burt Bell, the co-founder of the Philadelphia Eagles. He helped make the Steelers get their first winning season ever in the merger now known as the Steagles, which was caused by the Eagles and Steelers losing a lot of players due to World War II. He was also the NFL commissioner in 1946 and held the position till his death in 1959. While NFL commissioner in 1956, he banned the use of radio transmission in a player's helmet. Paul Brown experimented with a radio device in his quarterback's helmet. Burt banned the device after only a couple games. While watching the Steelers and Eagles, he suffered a heart attack which led to his death. He'll be forever known as an NFL legend.
Bronco dragged the NFL out of the back alleys and into the American consciousness because he was so big.
Bronco Nagurski made possibly the biggest change in NFL history. Before 1932, the NFL just went by the rules of the college game. But in the 1932 title game, Bronco went up to the line of scrimmage and threw a jump pass to Red Grange to score a touchdown. But the play was ruled dead as soon as Nagurski threw the ball. This is because the rule was at the time that you had to be 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage to throw a forward pass. After the game, which Bronco and the Bears lost 9-0, the newly established NFL Rules Committee made the first rule change in NFL history, making it legal to pass the ball anywhere behind the line of scrimmage. After the 9th season, Bronco retired with 2,778 rushing yards and 25 rushing touchdowns.
Two-way star with the Packers. He led the NFL in receiving in 8 of his 11 seasons and won the Joe F. Carr Trophy as the National Football League's MVP in 1941 and 1942, and may just have the best nickname on the NFL 100 all-time team, the Alabama Antelope, Don Hutson.
Don Hutson was one of the best receivers of the pre-Super Bowl era. He was great for his whole career. His 1942 campaign was legendary. He put up 1,211 yards and 17 touchdowns. He also has the greatest nickname of all time, the Alabama Antelope. He retired with 7,991 yards and 99 touchdowns, clearly deserving a spot in the Hall of Fame.
If you have a list of the game changers in NFL history, you must have Joe Carr on that list.
Joseph Carr was the coach of the Columbus Panhandles from 1901 to 1904, then again from 1907 to 1918. He worked as an administrator for the Panhandles from 1907 to 1922. He became the APFA commissioner in 1921 and held the position till his death in 1939. While he was commissioner, he made one of the biggest name changes in sports. He changed the name of the league from the APFA to the NFL.
George Preston Marshall was an American businessman and the owner and president of the Washington Redskins of the National Football League.
George Preston Marshall. He founded the now Washington football team. He started the team in Boston and named the team the Braves. When they moved south after one season in Boston, they moved to Washington, D.C. With the change of city came a new name. George, wanting to keep the Native American theme, he came up with the highly controversial name, the Redskins. After 37 seasons, his team won 2 NFL championships and 6 division titles. He held the position as owner until his death in 1969.
This year, with Pueblo Central grad Earl Dutch Clark on the short list to be selected as one of the 12 best running backs in the NFL's history.
Earl Dutch Clark is a Detroit Lions legend. His first 2 seasons he played for the Portsmouth Spartans. When the Spartans moved to Detroit and became the Lions, Earl's play improved a lot. His first season in Detroit, he put up career-high numbers with 763 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. He had an amazing season. His play slowed down a little bit his 4th season, but the next year was great. His 5th season, he put up great numbers. He had 628 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. He retired with 2,772 rushing yards and 36 rushing touchdowns. He definitely deserved a spot in the Hall of Fame. Wilbur Pete Henry was unstoppable. He could do anything. He blocked, kicked, ran. He earned a spot on the Hall of Fame 1920s team. He earned 4 first-team All-Pros in a row. He is one of 6 players from the Canton Bulldogs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Illinois' Memorial Stadium has produced 15 All-Americans, but the greatest by far was Red Grange.
Red Grange was great. He co-founded the New York Yankees, not the baseball team, the short-lived NFL team, which he played for a year. He mostly played for the Chicago Bears. He was a late bloomer. In fact, his best season was his second to last season. In the 1933 season, Grange put up 277 rushing yards and a touchdown. He retired with 569 rushing yards and 21 touchdowns.
Curly Lambeau, in the very infancy of the league, got together with a couple of dreamers and came up with this idea of playing professional football. And
Earl Curly Lambeau helped make the most storied franchise in NFL history. He founded the Green Bay Packers in 1921, and as a coach, he had 6 NFL titles and a record of 229, 134, and 22. Yes, 22 ties. His best season with the Packers is when he led them to a 12-0-1 record. So close to a perfect season. For the last 4 years as a coach, he had 2 losing seasons with the Chicago Cardinals and 1 winning and 1 losing season with the Washington Redskins.
If you were picking the greatest players in Giants history on sort of a Mount Rushmore, you know you'd have Lawrence Taylor, and you know you'd have Mel Hein.
Mel Hein was a brick wall. No defensive lineman can get past him. He played a little bit as a linebacker, never managed to get a sack, but he does have 10 interceptions and a pick 6. He has gone to 4 Pro Bowls and has 5 first-team All-Pros. He has earned many trophies and awards like the NFL MVP, All-30s team, and a player on the NFL 100 all-time team. He is one of the best players to play for the Giants.
Well, George, the Bears' 73-0 rout of the Washington Redskins back in 1940 is certainly one of the most talked about games in the history of professional sport.
The one, the only, George Halas. He founded and coached the Decatur Staleys, now known as the Chicago Bears, and coached them from 1920 to 1967, taking a break in 1943 to 1945. As a coach, he only had 1 losing season. In his first stint as head coach for the Bears, he went 13-0 in 1934. Over 64 seasons, he had 324 wins, 6 NFL titles. He owned the Bears from 1920 till his death in 1983. Tim Mara founded the 4th oldest club in NFL history, the New York Giants. Within his first 3 seasons as owner, he led his team to an NFL championship. He oversaw 4 championships and held the position as owner until 1958 after his death. He'll be known as a legendary owner.
In Canton, Ohio, where the sport had its beginnings, the Professional Football Hall of Fame was born. A home for football history, where visitors are greeted by the legendary Jim Thorpe.
Jim Thorpe, the man that started it all. He played for the Canton Bulldogs as their halfback before the NFL even existed. He was an Olympic gold medalist, and he was elected as the president of the APFA in 1920 and held the position for 1 year. He plays a halfback for 3 teams and retired after 8 seasons. He probably is the most storied player in NFL history. That's it, the 17 legends inducted in the 1963 Hall of Fame class.